Good morning, everybody. Today is the 1st of September, 2018. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Derek Tikori, author and webmaster of a little site called Gematrinator.com. Not your typical website, not selling anything there, not really promoting much there, just trying to spread awareness of the ancient language of Gematria, also pronounced Gematria. And just like I do every week, I will go through my blog post from the past 7 days and talk to you about this language of Gematria. Most news stations, news shows like to talk about what's actually going on. What we talk about here is the numerical underlying behind the entire picture. Now, it's my belief that a lot of the news is actually fabricated by this code as the coincidences begin piling up and you realize that something is definitely going on. First of all, let's just quickly go over what I'm talking about in the first place. This language of Gematria is actually very basic. Most people run scared when they hear about numbers and numerology. A lot of people think it's crazy talk. I assure you it's simple, logical, and very, very fascinating. So what you're looking at here are what we call the 4 base ciphers. We start with the alphabetic order called English Ordinal in the top left of your screen. This cipher simply numbers the alphabet 1 through 26, assigning a number to each letter relative to its position. In the middle of the screen, you'll see a cipher called full reduction. This method uses the rules of numerology to reduce every double-digit number to a single digit. So we start with 10. J, the 10th letter, 1 plus 0 equals 1. So when you add J to a word, it's only worth 1. This continues all the way through Z, the 26th letter, 26. 2 plus 6 is 8. Z becomes 8 in the reduction method. What we've found is that there's also 2 complementary methods, which is the reverse alphabetic order. Z is 1, Y is 2, X is 3. Through A is 26. That method can also then be reduced to a single digit. However, this practice is primarily based in the English ordinal and full reduction methods. One of the most common questions I get when initially talking about this with people is why? Why are the numbers so important to these people? Why would they go through all the effort of coding these rituals if it allows someone like you to come by and expose it by using this simple code? It's a very good, very positive question. This is something that I was skeptical about when I first came into this. Now, my answer to that is actually this, right? So this whole idea of Gematria, coding letters into numbers and vice versa, this is based in the ancient Hebrew and Greek languages. It was called Hebrew Gematria and Greek isopsophy. And it's actually based in a Kabbalistic belief that God created the world by merging the number and the letter. So when I first created this calculator, what I thought I was doing was only dispelling the propaganda that the mainstream media gives us, which is definitely part of this. However, the reason I believe that these numbers are so important is because this is part of the occulted knowledge, that the language of Gematria actually does have something to do with the reality that we as humans living in this realm experience. And if that sounds like a lot to digest, I don't blame you. However, there's a lot to look at. For instance, just the fact that I'm here sharing this practice, my name matching Gematria in many methods. So when I came into this, I had no idea about the numerical matches my name had with Gematria. This all came after the fact. So here I'm talking about numbers, and we're going to cover a lot of different numbers throughout the course of this video. Using the alphabetic order, the word numbers has a value of 92. N the 14th letter, U the 21st, M the 13th, and so on and so forth. You add these together, you get the number 92. Well, in the reverse alphabetic order, the word reverse equals 92 as well. My name, Derek, sums to 92. Here we're talking about Gematria, which has a reverse value of 142. It's a Gematria language, as we call it. This equals 142 alphabetic order. My name, as I was born, is Derek Tikori, which equals 142. There's this other cipher called Jewish Gematria. This is based on the original Latin alphabet, and as we've discovered, it's very significant, remaining so to this very day. You'll notice the modern English characters placed towards the end. Well, if you punch in my full name at birth, Derek Michael J. Tikori, you get this value 1198. And it wasn't until I made my calculator that people started talking about reverse gematria, which sums to 1198 in this method as well. So there's definitely something going on with the numbers all around us every day, from the date we're born to the date we die. And it's the belief and realization of this knowledge that I believe is the reason that this language is so important to the people who are giving us our mainstream news. They keep this knowledge from us, they make it look crazy, but then they go on and use it in everything in the media. So we're going to talk about, at length, what's going on. It's news. It's the same groups that control these major sports leagues. We'll talk about how that's often crafted by the numbers, and also corporations. There seems to be a large numeric underlining with how corporations are operating and merging with one another, as we'll discover soon. But to kick this off, I want to talk about this QAnon conspiracy. We're not really actually going to talk about the QAnon at length, but a lot of people have questioned me being a conspiracy theorist, you know, by definition, according to the mainstream, what I think of QAnon and whether or not it's legit. There's plenty of things to be suspicious about. My take is that if you're seeing it on the television, if you're seeing it in the media, it's probably controlled opposition. In fact, I believe the president, or what we call the president, Donald Trump, he himself is somewhat controlled opposition to the establishment. He's playing a role similar to Alex Jones, except he got all the way into the Oval Office. So this past week, Donald Trump met with a man named Michael LeBron, who is a radio personality better known as Lionel. The date that he visited the White House was August 25th, which was Saturday last week. August 25th is the 237th day of the year, and what I probably did a poor job of in my introduction is talking about how this language is primarily used alongside dates on the calendar, and it's related to both the numerologies of the dates as well as the number of days between dates. And we find all too often, with great significance, the fact that the numbers we get from people's names are often found in these date measurements, and let's explain. So using the standard alphabetic order, the term conspiracy theorist equals 237. And again, August 21st, the day that this conspiracy theorist met Trump at the White House, was the 237th day of the year. This particular conspiracy theorist is named Michael LeBron. In our complementary reverse reduction cipher, Michael LeBron equals 72. However, also in Sumerian gematria, the alphabetic order times 6, this is the only cipher that multiplies every letter by a certain number, Michael LeBron also equals 702. So you could say he has double gematria of 72, because in numerology, the zeros are dropped in the results. On the date Michael LeBron visited the White House, including the end date, he was exactly 720 months old, much like his name having that double gematria of 72. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, the man he met with, was exactly 72 days after his 72nd birthday. Now, we did get news of this late Saturday night. However, it became headlines on the 26th of August. The full numerology of that date is 8 plus 26 plus 20 plus 18. This equals 72. Something else that's highly significant to this study, and once you understand that this is the case, this whole thing becomes a lot more clear. So August 26th, the date that we got this story, is the date that leaves 127 days in the year. 127 is a prime number. As a matter of fact, it's the 31st prime number. In our standard reduction, the name Lionel equals 31. One more thing to talk about is that the very next day on August 26th, when we got this news, Michael LeBron turned exactly 60 years old, meaning he just began his 61st year alive. Using the alphabetic order, QAnon equals 61. This event was QAnon at the White House. White House also has Gematria of 61. This single reduction method, by the way, the only difference between full reduction and this is the letter S, which is why it's often called the S exception. The letter S, the 19th letter, 1 plus 9 is 10, just one reduction. So next we're going to look at how the major sports leagues use this language of letters and numbers as well. A couple days ago, we got a story about Colin Kaepernick with a small victory, earning a win in a court case that allows his case against the NFL to move forward. Now, what's funny is that the headlines for these news articles are often coded with Gematria in order to pay tribute to the topic of the article. In this case, notice how the headline, because it's Bleacher Report, I believe, Bleacher Report does this, where they capitalize every word, or the first letter of every word, except for words like the, or for, or by. And what I've realized is that the Francis Bacon cipher is very significant to Bleacher Report. And the Francis Bacon method is also another very logical cipher. All we do is add 26 for every capital letter. So small a through z is 1 through 26, large a through z, 27 through 52. So in this method, the headline sums to 1,070. Again, with numerology, we drop the zeros. The word flag equals 17. And of course, this is what Colin Kaepernick is feuding with the NFL over, his ability to kneel during the national anthem. This headline also had a Jewish Gematria value of 3,083. In numerology terms, this reflects the number 383. This is also a prime number, the 76th prime. The date that we got this story, August 30th, 8 plus 30 plus 20 plus 18 equals 76. And the key topic of this story was that an arbitrator allowed the case to move forward. The word arbitrator in our reverse reduction method equals 76. But think about the team that Colin Kaepernick played for. His team was the San Francisco 49ers. Appropriately, this date also had a life lesson number of 49. This is the same date calculation method, but with the year reduced to single digits. Playing for the 49ers, we get news from Kaepernick on a date with 49 numerology. In standard reduction, the term collusion case also equals 49, and that's the type of case that he is trying to move forward against the NFL. The date of this story, also the date that leaves 123 days on the calendar. Colin Kaepernick collusion case, 123. Finally, the date had numerology of 22. This is the number of men on the field during a football game. In the language of Gematria, National Football League equals 220. And as far as the date, August 3rd, written 8/30, 8-3, the word football on its own sums to 83. So how about this? Collusion case, right? CC. C, of course, the third letter, so CC is a 33. And this is a very special number to Colin Kaepernick. Using the reverse alphabetic order, Colin Rand Kaepernick, his full name, has Gematria of 330. Colin Kaepernick's birthday is November 3rd, 1987. Think about that date, 11/3. 11 times 3 is 33. And his initials, CK, the third letter, the 11th letter, again, 3 times 11, 33. On the date we got this news story, Colin Kaepernick was exactly 30 years, 300 days old. Again, just like the number 33. This also means it's a span of 9 weeks and 3 days before his 31st birthday. In the reduction method, Colin Rand Kaepernick equals 93. His last name on its own, using the alphabetic order, Kaepernick, also sums to 93. Of course, the name of our national anthem here in the United States... Sorry, guys. It's already getting to be fall here. It's going to be that time of year with allergies. In Jewish Gematria, Star-Spangled Banner equals 666. Donald Trump, 2 months and 16 days after his birthday. 216 is, of course, 6 times 6 times 6. So let's talk a little bit about why Kaepernick and Trump are feuding in the first place. The first thing I want to point out, we talked about how National Football League has this Gematria of 220. Well, if we flip the alphabetic order around, the name Donald John Trump also equals 220. Now, Donald Trump was born on June 14th. June 14th, 1946. What a lot of people don't know, they don't make the connection, is that Flag Day is also June 14th. And think about how this date is written in most of the world, 14/6. Using the alphabetic order, the name Colin Kaepernick equals 146. In Jewish Gematria, Colin Rand Kaepernick equals 470. The name Trump equals 470 in this same freaking cipher. And the date we got this news, 8 plus 30 plus 1 plus 8 sums to 47. The number 47 connects us to the word kneel. Using the alphabetic order, the word kneel equals 47. If you reverse the alphabetic order, kneel equals 88. The Star-Spangled Banner in reduction equals 88. And this is a battle between Colin Kaepernick, 88 reverse reduction, and Donald Trump. The name Trump equals 88 ordinal. There's more to this as well. Notice how the Star-Spangled Banner equals 223 ordinal. In Jewish Gematria, the name Kaepernick equals 223. His full name, Colin Rand Kaepernick, using English Extended Gematria. This is the one that's built similarly to Jewish Gematria, but uses the current alphabetic order, 1 through 26. You'll see this cipher is built 1 through 9, 10 through 90, 100 through 800. So it sums to 570, his full name. In reduction, national anthem equals 57. And these are all moon numbers as well. The moon is even coded into this man's career record as a quarterback. You know, he started out pretty hot, but he finished his career 3-16. It's a funny number too, but moving on to the next story. So we talked about how the news is structured by the numbers. We talked about how sports, that news is structured by the numbers. Here's some corporate numerology as well. We're going to talk about Coca-Cola buying a company called Costa Coffee, which I believe is primarily a British coffee chain. But even things like this, done by this numerical code. Oops. Oh, I accidentally lost the chat. Okay. So Coca-Cola was established as a corporation on the date May 8th, 1886. If you measure from Coca-Cola's anniversary this past year on May 8th to the date of this announcement, you'll find it's exactly 115 days. In a cipher called Frank Baconis, this is another capital letter cipher. You saw with Francis Bacon, we simply added 26 for each capital letter. Well, here we run the alphabet alternating capital letters with small letters. So capital A gets 1, small a gets 2. Capital B 3, small b gets 4. Using this method, Costa sums to 115. Coca-Cola buying Costa 115 days after its anniversary. The price tag on this transaction, $5 billion. Using the standard alphabetic order, 5 billion equals 115. And again, if you're just joining this stream, we're talking about the language of Gematria, the ancient practice of coding numbers into words. Very basic, what we call the 4 base ciphers here on your screen. 115 days is also 16 weeks and 3 days. Using the reverse alphabetic order, Coca-Cola equals 163. The date of this announcement, 8 plus 31 plus 20 plus 18, this sums to 77. In reverse reduction, Costa Limited equals 77. Costa equals 77 in the reverse order. This date also had a reduced numerology of 23. The word coffee equals 23, also reverse reduction. Also, Costa Coffee was acquired by the Whitbread 23 years ago. Also, the date of this announcement, August 31st, leaves 122 days in the year. In the reverse order, coffee equals 122. Something I noticed is that this transaction, $5 billion, this translates to 3.9 billion euros. Or was it pounds? I'm not certain. But I found it interesting that this is a merger between a soda company, soda equals 39 alphabetic order, and a coffee company. Using the Jewish order, which is the Jewish Gematria cipher dropped down to an ordinal 1 through 27 base, coffee also equals 39. The 39th prime number is 167. Both of these drinks have caffeine, which sums to 167. Finally, also notice how Coca-Cola and Costa all have reduction gematria of 13. All right, next up, Uber, one of our favorite companies. I just noticed that Zach Hubbard dropped in the chat. Zach Hubbard, a longtime proud employee of Uber, I'm sure. So we get Uber in the news yet again. And, all of these stories are constructed by the numbers when it comes to Uber. And usually it's centered around the number 19, which is sort of the case here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But here's what really stuck out to me about this story. First of all, the shooting occurred on a date with a life lesson number of 47. And 47, this is our number of foundation. So much of this study is built around the number 47. 47 degrees between the tropics. where the sun travels between Cancer and Capricorn. The word time equals 47. Well, when you write out the number 47, using the English extended method, 47 has a value of 1616, 1616. Now, this shooting featured two characters. It was Uber driver Robert Westlake shooting a man named Jason Bowick. In this same cipher, Robert Westlake and Jason Bowick sums to 1616. In Jewish Gematria, what they're calling this, a Florida stand-your-ground case, also has this Gematria of 1616. Looking back again at the two names, if we just look at the simple alphabetic order, Robert Westlake and Jason Bowick, their names also have a Gematria of 266. This shooting occurred just a couple hours into the 28th of August. In the reverse alphabetic order, 28th of August equals 266. So if you watch the video, now if you're thinking, oh no, I'm not going to watch the video, I don't want to see a man get shot, don't worry guys, once again, this is just more Masonic garbage propaganda, and you don't see any evidence of anything occurring. In fact, I don't even know if there's any audio. The clip I saw didn't even have audio, but again, you don't see him get shot. It doesn't happen until he steps out of frame. Now, the footage on the screen takes place at 2:19 a.m., and I laughed when I saw the 19 on the clock because Uber equals 19. This is what all their propaganda is centered around. But the quote they put in the headline was, "You know I got a pistol." And "you know I got a pistol" equals 2:19. It was 2:19 in the morning that the shooting occurred. Using the alphabetic order, Uber equals 46. Self-defense equals 46 in reduction. I also found it interesting that they said the guy who shot him was in a Hyundai Elantra, which sums to 153 and 63, the same as Uber shooting. The guy he shot was just holding a cell phone, which sums to 153. Something that Zach pointed out, too, that's worth mentioning, 2:19. That's the 139th minute of the day, 2:19. And using the alphabetic order, Freemasonry equals 139. This is all, of course, a Freemasonic ritual. So now let's look at the numbers that they actually gave us in the article, the ages of these two men. They say Bowick was 34 years old. They say Westlake was 38 years old. Well, murder has a gematria of 34 reduction and 38 reverse reduction. But here's what's most interesting to me about this story. Think about the date that it made the news. The shooting occurred on the 28th. We didn't hear about it nationally until the 30th. The date August 30th, written internationally as 30/8, like 308. The victim in this murder equals 38. His name is Jason Bowick, which equals 308, just like the date. The guy who killed him, Robert Westlake, equals 1308. You got that 308 sequence right there in the same cipher. This number 38, death, 38, murder, killing, RIP. This number even coded into the poster for the movie Murder by Numbers. They changed the E to a 3 and the 8, or the B to an 8. So you got this 34-year-old, you got a 38-year-old. If you add those two ages together, you get 72. Stand your ground equals 72 in reduction. And just in case you're wondering, hey, how can this be a Masonic ritual? It's just two random guys, right? Well, don't gloss over this highly important detail. Westlake, the man who committed the shooting, he's a licensed armed security guard who holds a concealed weapons permit and just completed training to be a police officer. Let me guess. Just another coincidence, right? Give me a break. Of course, Masonry sums to 33, 33 being the highest degree of Masonry. It's the police that's carrying out these rituals through secrecy. The word order also equaling 33. The name of the shooter, Robert, 33. Robbie, maybe his nickname, 33. And the man he shot was named Bowick. Bowick equals 33, ordinal. Furthermore, in the reverse order, Robert Westlake, 204. This is the same as Uber Technologies, Inc. Because if you actually look up Uber on Wikipedia, you find that their full name is Uber Technologies, Inc. Uber also has this English gematria of 397. This is the 78th prime number. The name Robert equals 78. This shooting, they didn't specify what city it occurred in. However, it did occur in the state of Florida. And if you've been following any of my work, you know that the governor of Florida is Rick Scott. And all of these rituals, these Masonic rituals, when they occur somewhere, you got to look at the governor's date that he took office. It's like without exception, there seems to be something coded into it. And in this case, there's no doubt about it. Governor Rick Scott took office on January 4th, 2011, exactly 399 weeks before the shooting. The word murder equals 399, and I already showed you how the word murder was coded in all the other methods. Also, it became news on August 30th, 8/30, the word murder equals 83. All right, so now we're going to talk about the death of John McCain. This was announced shortly I went off the air last Saturday on my 23rd podcast. Just so you guys know, I'm going to quickly talk about John McCain and his mother, who is still alive, actually. Then we're going to talk about the New Mexico bus crash before glancing at a couple of other news by the numbers story. Then we're going to go on break, and we're going to come back and talk about the Jacksonville mass shooting. That was one of the biggest news stories of the week. The reason I'm keeping that until the second hour is because I do have a video up on my YouTube channel discussing at length the numerology of the Jacksonville shooting. However, since I made that video, I also discovered a lot more. There's so many things that connect to the shooting. We're going to talk about, kind of a wider perspective, all the things that tie into this. And then we're going to finish it off with a couple murder by numbers, and finally history by the numbers. We're going to talk about the Milwaukee Cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer, and how that whole thing could very well be a complete Masonic hoax. And the numerology of that story completely blew my mind. I feel like I'm really starting to understand how these massive rituals are constructed. But before we get all the way there, we're going to talk more about John McCain. So I waited a while to do this breakdown, but I figured it was probably necessary. This is one of the biggest news stories of the week. And think about the news yesterday. This was just another, they call it synchronicity in the news, but it's probably planned out this way. Think about how all day the top news stories were the funerals of both John McCain and Aretha Franklin. And, these two aren't that numerically connected. There are some connections, of course, but right now we're just going to focus on John McCain. Now, before I get into this post, I want to give a shout-out to Geneth, who's very active in the chat right now. He did some work recently on this telephone cipher, something called keypad gematria. And if you think about it, it's very logical, right? And this is why I had my eyes open to it in the first place. Now, I'm going to be very cautious about what I do with numerology because a lot of people think I'm making leaps and stretches to begin with. So for me to add new ciphers is not necessarily doing anyone any favors. However, what really sold me on this is this, and I'm going to share Zenith's find. I believe his channel is still linked in the description down below, and yes, it is. So please check out his channel after the podcast, of course, and check out his work. But what really sold me on the fact that this could be relevant is how this was coded into 9/11. So there's this city of Lowell, Massachusetts, and Lowell is incredibly significant to the telephone It's actually the city where Alexander Graham Bell first introduced the telephone. This is where he first demonstrated it. And then a couple of years later, Lowell, Massachusetts was the first city that ever got a telephone number. So, I'm sorry, telephone numbers, not area codes. We're not anywhere near area codes yet. 1879, Lowell gets the first phone number. Now think about what's the most famous phone number in America. Could it be 911, the emergency dialing code? Ever since we were young, they've been hammering that phone number into our heads, 911, 911. Well, then it just so happened that we got the most disastrous terrorist attack in U.S. history on the date written 911, or September 11th, 9/11. So here we're talking about phone gematria, right? The idea that the letters that are on the keypad could actually be a form of gematria, right? A equals 2, B equals 2, C equals 2, and so on and so forth. So using the standard alphabetic order, phone gematria sums to 132. Well, exactly 132 days before September 11th, Lowell, Massachusetts was given its own area code. And this was on the date May 2nd. So if you run the date calculations on this, measuring from May 2nd, 2001 to 9/11, 2001 was exactly 132 days, just like the value of phone gematria. So Lowell, Massachusetts gets an area code on the date May 2nd. And I don't know why this website's not loading for me here now. There it is. I think probably Wikipedia has a better rundown of this. May 2nd, 2001. There's your proof. 351 has been sharing the Lowell area code since May 2nd. And I want you to think about this, right? In this telephone cipher, the word phone equals 26. Now, 26 times 2 is 52. The date that they got their area code was 5/2. However, more significant is that the 26 triangular number, if you add every number up, 1 through 26, it's 351. And that's the area code that they were given, 351, the 26 triangular number. So once I found this out, once Zenith shared this with us, I said, okay, this is probably definitely a legit method. So I think I do think I'm going to add this to the calculator. And to me, this is more significant than septenary, maybe more significant than Chaldean. I don't know. But it just makes a lot of sense. And the first decode I did was this John McCain decode, and I had the telephone cipher open, and I just kept seeing numbers pop. So we are going to glance at this. So I want to point out that John McCain has 8 different political offices listed on his Wikipedia page. And all but one of these offices he assumed on the date January 3rd, written 103. In reduction gematria, the name John Sidney McCain III equals 103. Now, he became senator in the year 1987. So is it kind of interesting that using the telephone cipher, John Sidney McCain III equals 87? And we're going to see this repeat itself over and over. Now, using the alphabetic order, John Sidney McCain III equals 193. 193 is a prime number. It's the 44th prime number. Oops. John McCain, measuring from the date that Arizona, he was an Arizona senator. Arizona became a state on the date February 14th. So including the end date, he died 193 days after that date. In satanic gematria, a cipher built around the number 666, John McCain equals 440. Remember 193, the 44th prime number. The date he died August 25th, 8 plus 25 plus 2 plus 1 plus 8. This equals 44. He died of brain cancer. Both brain and cancer sums to 44. In Hebrew Gematria, the word circle sums to 44 ordinal. We're going to talk about how this is a pi ritual as well. Now, in Jewish Gematria, mathematics of the circle sums to 666. In English Gematria, John McCain equals 234. And think about how 234 plus its inverse 432 equals 666. He died 234 days after the anniversary of him taking office as Senator of Arizona. This number also coded into the gematria of his birthplace, Coco Solo, Panama Canal Zone. In ordinal, this equals 234. In Jewish gematria, Coco Solo, I don't know why I have a hard time saying something that's in English. Coco Solo Panama Canal Zone equals 1109 in Jewish gematria. In the reverse alphabetic order, Coco Solo equals 119, just like the name McCain 119. Also using prime numbers, alphabetic order with related primes, McCain has gematria of 119 using that method as well. Now, in our telephone cipher, or the keypad gematria, Coco Solo Panama Canal Zone equals 106. The name McCain equals 106 English extended. The state of Arizona was admitted to the Union 106 years ago, 1912. His mom, who's still alive, is 106 years old. Using the alphabetic order, pi ritual equals 106, just like how pi equals 16 in reduction. In this mysterious LCH cipher, which I almost never talk about because I don't understand it, the word pi equals 4. And John McCain died 4 days before his 82nd birthday. 3.14, which is pi, equals 82 in reverse reduction. The town he died, Cornville, Arizona, equaling 82 in keypad gematria. Now, 3 hours and 14 minutes on a clock is 194 minutes. Cornville, Arizona, where he died, equals 194. The smallest equation you can use to get pi is 22 divided by 7. This gives you 3.14 on a calculator. This also gives you 314 in gematria, 22 divided by 7. The date of his death was 7 months and 22 days after the anniversary of him taking office as senator. And think about how the 227th day of the year leaves 138 on the calendar. The current governor of Arizona is named Doug Ducey, 138 reverse, and McCain died 138 days after Doug Ducey's birthday. So all of this is pretty strong, and think about this whole idea. I mean, guys, this is the stuff that blows my mind with this gematria business, right? The fact that Arizona is 106 years old, like pi ritual, John McCain dying in relation to the numbers of pi. How is it his mother's still alive? I mean, I guess you could reasonably say that, you know, anyone that they want to keep alive to a really old age, they can do so, right? And by they, I mean the establishment, these advanced hospitals with advanced medicine. You know, it's reasonable that they can keep people alive over the age of 100 if they want. I mean, just think about Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. She died at 108 years old. The Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting was all about the Chicago Cubs, you know, numerically related to. And, you know, maybe this is organic numerology, but I just don't know what's going on. But you got to be amazed at what's happening sometimes. I did a quick post on Roberta McCain, by the way, and you got to love how Fox pointed out, hey, leaders from both parties mourn McCain at Capitol. Like, of course they do. What, are they going to bicker in the middle of the funeral? The fact that they even point out that there's some kind of solidarity at a funeral, it gives you an idea of how tense things are in Washington, right? Something else funny about Roberta McCain. Roberta McCain sums to 229. Reverse alphabetic order. This is the 50th prime number. The word circle equals 50. The number of the beast, by the way, 666, revealed in the 229th verse of Revelation, which has 404 chapters. Roberta McCain sums to 404 Jewish. And the date of McCain's funeral had 50 numerology. The word circle, 50. Also, the date of the funeral was 205 days after Roberta McCain's birthday. The word pi equals 25 in the alphabetic order. Also, the name Roberta equals 110, reverse, just like pi equaling 11 in reduction. And for the record, pi does equal 11 in keypad gematria. All right, a couple more news by the numbers stories to look at before we go into break, and this one is big. What I want to point out about this, before I really get into the numerology of this, is that when I woke up that morning, I glanced at the date numerology just to try and get a feel of what's going on, right? I said, hey, today is a major pi day. It was the 30th of August. 30th of August equals 227 alphabetic order. Just like the number of degrees in a circle, 360. 22 divided by 7 equals pi, remember. In the Kabbalah, pi has double gematria of 49. And the date had double numerology of 49. Also numerology of 76, like pi using prime numbers. Lastly, there's this bizarre observation. Think about how the word circle equals 40 in reverse reduction. Well, the 40th prime number is 173. And look at the gematria of 30th of August. In English gematria, it's 1703. And in Jewish gematria, it's 1073. So you have all these ties to the gematria and numerology of pi and circle. So here we have a Greyhound bus crash. This sums to 82 in the reduction method. And it happened in Thoreau, New Mexico, which equals 82 in the same method. As we mentioned, John McCain just died shortly before his 82nd birthday. 3.14 equals 82, reverse reduction. We also mentioned how John McCain died in Cornville, Arizona, which equals 194. 194 minutes is 3:14 on a clock. The name of the governor of New Mexico, where this bus crash is Susana M. Martinez, which equals 194 as well. And this, too, is going to be a massive pi ritual. So the state of New Mexico, just like Arizona, is also 106 years old. Again, perfect for a pi ritual, which is all mathematical. The name Martinez also has an ordinal value of 106. Governor Susana Martinez equals 106.